In this audiobook, you'll discover proven strategies, mindset shifts, and practical steps that successful entrepreneurs and investors use to build and sustain financial independence. But before we dive in, I have one small request. If you find this audiobook valuable, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating powerful content to guide you on your path to financial freedom. Chapter 1: The Journey Begins. Understanding wealth and your relationship with money. Jason had always dreamt of financial success. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, he watched as his parents struggled to make ends meet, constantly worrying about bills and expenses. He promised himself that one day he would break free from the cycle of financial stress and live life on his own terms. But like most people, he had no idea where to start. It was a cold winter evening when Jason stumbled upon an old bookstore while walking home from work. Inside, he found a book titled The Millionaire Mindset. The title intrigued him, and though he hesitated to spend the little extra money he had, something inside him urged him to buy it. That night, Jason devoured the first few chapters. It wasn't about get-rich-quick schemes. Instead, it was about something much deeper: how wealthy people think, act, and build their fortunes over time. He learned that wealth wasn't just about earning more money, but about cultivating the right mindset. Rich people didn't see money as something scarce, but as something abundant. They focused on opportunities instead of obstacles, and they continuously educated themselves about finances, investments, and business. Jason realized he had spent his entire life operating under a scarcity mindset. Every paycheck felt like a temporary relief from his financial struggles, but it never lasted long. He was trapped in the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, just like his parents had been. Wealthy people, on the other hand, had an abundance mindset. They believed money could always be created, earned, and multiplied. They didn't fear spending money on investments, education, or opportunities, because they understood that money, when used wisely, could grow exponentially. Jason decided it was time to make a change. He vowed to shift his mindset from scarcity to abundance. But he knew that mindset alone wasn't enough. He needed a plan. One of the first lessons Jason learned in his journey to wealth was that financial education was the foundation of success. He had spent years in school learning subjects that never truly helped him in real life, but he had never learned about budgeting, investing, or building wealth. Determined to change that, he immersed himself in books, podcasts, and online courses about money. He studied the habits of the world's richest people and began applying their principles to his own life. The first thing he did was create a budget. For the first time, he tracked every dollar that came in and went out. He realized that he had been mindlessly spending money on things that didn't add value to his life: expensive coffees, impulse purchases, and monthly subscriptions he barely used. By cutting unnecessary expenses, he freed up extra money that he could start using to build wealth. But where should he put it? That's when he learned about the importance of multiple income streams. One of the biggest differences between the rich and the poor is how they make their money. Most people rely on a single source of income, their job. But the wealthy understand that relying on just one paycheck is risky. If that income disappears, so does their financial stability. Jason decided to explore new ways to earn money. He started with a side hustle, selling handmade leather wallets on an online marketplace. The business started slow, but within a few months he was making an extra $500 per month. Encouraged by his success, he looked into passive income sources, ways to make money even when he wasn't actively working. He learned about dividend stocks, real estate investments, and digital products. The more he studied, the more he realized that the key to financial freedom was making money work for him, not just working for money. As Jason's mindset evolved, he noticed that his social circle wasn't aligned with his new goals. His friends often complained about their jobs, blamed the economy for their financial struggles, and scoffed at the idea of entrepreneurship or investing. That's when he read a quote that changed everything. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Jason knew he needed to surround himself with people who shared his ambition and drive. He started attending networking events, joining online entrepreneur groups, and even reaching out to successful people he admired. To his surprise, many of them were willing to share their experiences and advice. With each conversation, he gained valuable insights about money, business, and personal development. More importantly, he started believing in himself. If these people could achieve financial success, why couldn't he? By the end of the year, Jason had made incredible progress. He had built his first side business, created a solid financial plan, and surrounded himself with people who inspired him. But he knew this was just the beginning. He set ambitious goals for the next year: grow his side business to replace his full-time income, start investing in the stock market, purchase his first real estate property, and develop multiple income streams to achieve financial freedom. He realized that getting rich wasn't about luck. It was about making intentional choices every single day. As you read Jason's story, you might recognize parts of your own life in his struggles. The truth is, anyone can build wealth if they are willing to learn, take action, and stay persistent. Here's how you can start today. Shift your mindset, adopt an abundance mentality, and believe that wealth is possible for you. Educate yourself, read books, listen to podcasts, and take courses on money management, investing, and entrepreneurship. Track your finances, understand where your money is going, and create a budget that aligns with your financial goals. Create multiple income streams, start a side hustle, invest, or explore passive income opportunities. Surround yourself with success. Connect with people who are financially successful and learn from them. Becoming rich isn't about luck or talent. It's about taking consistent action over time. Jason's journey is proof that with the right mindset, education, and discipline, financial freedom is within your reach. Are you ready to start your own journey to wealth? The choice is yours. Chapter 2. The First Steps: Mastering Your Finances and Eliminating Debt. Jason woke up one morning with a realization. Understanding wealth was just the first step. Now he had to take action. He had spent years wishing for financial freedom, but it wasn't until he started actively managing his finances that he saw real progress. The first step? Gaining complete control over his money and eliminating debt. Jason's journey to wealth truly began when he decided to analyze his finances. He printed out his bank statements for the past 6 months and categorized every dollar spent. To his surprise, he discovered that he was spending nearly $300 a month on coffee and takeout meals. His subscription services, many of which he barely used, accounted for another $150. Seeing these numbers in black and white was a wake-up call. If he wanted to become rich, he needed to control his spending habits. He set a new rule. Every dollar had to have a purpose. Money wouldn't slip through his fingers anymore. He started by creating a zero-based budget, a budgeting system where every dollar he earned was assigned a job, whether it was for savings, investments, debt repayment, or living expenses. By the end of the first month, he had saved an extra $500 just by eliminating unnecessary expenses. Like many people, Jason had accumulated debt over the years: a car loan, credit card balances, and student loans. Before he could build real wealth, he needed to escape the shackles of debt. He learned about 2 primary strategies for debt repayment. 1. The snowball method. Paying off the smallest debt first while making minimum payments on the others. Once the smallest debt was cleared, he would roll the amount he had been paying into the next smallest debt, creating momentum. 2. The avalanche method. Prioritizing the debts with the highest interest rates first to minimize the total interest paid over time. After careful consideration, Jason chose the snowball method. The psychological boost of eliminating debts quickly kept him motivated. Within 6 months, he had paid off his credit card balance. By the end of the year, his car loan was gone too. With his debt shrinking, Jason knew he needed an emergency fund. Life was unpredictable, and financial setbacks could happen at any time. He read that most financial experts recommend saving 3 to 6 months' worth of expenses in an easily accessible account. Determined to secure his financial foundation, Jason set a goal to save $10,000 in an emergency fund. He picked up extra shifts at work, cut unnecessary expenses, and directed all windfalls, tax refunds, bonuses, and gifts toward this goal. It took him 8 months, but when he finally saw that $10,000 sitting in his savings account, he felt a sense of relief he had never experienced before. Jason realized that financial success wasn't just about earning money, it was about managing and growing it effectively. He created a 5-step plan to ensure he was always progressing toward his goal of financial independence. 1. Master his budget. Every dollar had to have a purpose. 2. Eliminate debt. Freeing himself from financial burdens would allow him to invest more. 3. Build an emergency fund. Having a safety net would protect him from setbacks. 4. Increase income streams. Relying on one source of income was risky. 5. Invest wisely. Making money work for him was the ultimate goal. With his emergency fund in place and his debts shrinking, Jason was ready for the next stage, investing. He read everything he could about stocks, real estate, and business ventures. He was no longer satisfied with simply saving money. He wanted to make it grow. Jason started with index funds, a low-risk investment strategy that provided steady returns over time. He automated his contributions so that a portion of every paycheck went straight into his investment account. It wasn't much at first, but he understood the power of compound interest. Small investments made consistently over time could turn into a fortune. By the end of the year, Jason had completely transformed his financial life. He was debt-free, had a solid emergency fund, and had begun his journey as an investor. More importantly, he felt in control of his future for the first time. His next goal? Creating passive income streams that would allow him to escape the 9-to-5 grind forever. But that was a challenge for the next chapter. Chapter 3. The Power of Multiple Income Streams. Jason had made tremendous progress. He was debt-free, had built an emergency fund, and had begun investing. But as he sat at his kitchen table, reviewing his monthly budget, he realized something was still missing. Relying on a single paycheck from his 9-to-5 job wasn't going to cut it. If he truly wanted financial freedom, he needed multiple streams of income. Jason recalled a former colleague who had lost his job unexpectedly. He had a good salary, but because he depended entirely on that one source of income, he found himself drowning in financial stress when it was gone. This was a harsh reality for many people. Losing a job or experiencing a downturn in business could mean financial disaster. Jason was determined not to let that happen to him. He spent the next few weeks researching how wealthy individuals built and maintained their fortune. One common pattern emerged. They didn't rely on just one income stream, they had several. Jason discovered that millionaires typically had the following income streams. 1. Earned income, money from a job or business. 2. Profit income, money made from buying and selling. 3. Interest income, earnings from lending money or holding cash in interest-bearing accounts. 4. Dividend income, money from stocks and other investments. 5. Rental income, money earned from renting out property. 6. Capital gains, profits from selling assets like stocks or real estate. 7. Royalty and passive income, money earned from intellectual property, books, online courses, or licensing deals. Jason's next move was clear. He needed to build multiple income streams, starting with those that aligned with his skills and interests. Jason had always been good at graphic design, so he started freelancing on platforms like Upwork and Fiverr. It started slow, but within 3 months he was making an extra $1,000 a month. The best part? He could work on projects in his free time without affecting his full-time job. With his emergency fund secured, Jason took his investing to the next level by focusing on dividend stocks. These stocks paid him small, consistent income checks every quarter. He reinvested every penny, watching his portfolio slowly compound over time. Jason realized he could use his expertise to create passive income. He wrote a short ebook on personal finance and uploaded it to Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. He also recorded an online course about budgeting and published it on Udemy. Within months, he started earning passive income from these digital products. Inspired by his research on wealthy individuals, Jason decided to save up for a down payment on a rental property. He attended real estate seminars, read books, and analyzed properties before finally purchasing a small duplex. He rented out both units, and after covering his mortgage and expenses, he made an additional $500 per month in passive income. What amazed Jason the most was how each additional income stream gave him more financial security and freedom. His freelance income allowed him to invest more. His dividend income grew with time. His digital products made money while he slept. His rental property covered its costs and put money in his pocket every month. As his income grew, Jason reinvested a significant portion of his earnings, compounding his wealth faster than he had imagined possible. He was no longer worried about job security. If he lost his 9-to-5, he had multiple other sources of income to fall back on. One of the biggest lessons Jason learned was that wealth wasn't just about working harder, it was about working smarter. Instead of trading time for money, he looked for ways to build assets that would continue to pay him long after the initial effort was put in. His next goal? Scaling his income streams to reach true financial independence, where he could work only if he wanted to, not because he had to. But that journey was just beginning. Chapter 4: Make the money work for you. Jason had successfully created multiple streams of income, but he knew making money wasn't enough. He had to make his money work for him. The world's wealthiest individuals didn't just earn, they invested. The key to building long-term sustainable wealth was mastering the art of investing. This chapter was about his journey into the world of investments, the mistakes he made, and the strategies he adopted to grow his wealth exponentially. One evening, as Jason sat at his desk, he looked at a simple equation he had written in his notebook. Wealth equals income plus investments. He had heard the saying before, saving money alone wouldn't make him rich. Inflation would eat away at the value of his cash over time, and simply storing money in a bank account wasn't enough. If he wanted to achieve financial independence, he had to learn how to grow his money effectively. Jason thought back to some of history's greatest investors, Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, and Peter Lynch. They didn't just accumulate money, they deployed it strategically. That night, Jason made a decision. He would master the art of investing. Jason started his journey by learning about the various ways people invested their money. He quickly realized that investment opportunities came in many forms, each with its own risks and rewards. 1. Stocks, buying shares of companies to own a fraction of their business. 2. Bonds, lending money to corporations or governments in exchange for interest. 3. Real estate, investing in rental properties or real estate funds for long-term growth. 4. Mutual funds and ETFs, pooling money with other investors for diversified portfolios. 5. Cryptocurrency, a high-risk, high-reward investment in digital assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum. 6. Commodities, investing in physical goods such as gold, oil, and agricultural products. 7. Business ventures, investing in startups, franchises, or small businesses. Jason spent weeks reading books, watching online courses, and following financial news. He didn't want to blindly throw his money into investments. He wanted to make informed decisions. With some money saved up, Jason decided to start with the stock market. He opened a brokerage account and began researching different companies. He learned about fundamental analysis, evaluating a company's financial health, leadership, and market position. Instead of gambling on trendy stocks, Jason followed the wisdom of legendary investors and focused on long-term value investing. He picked strong, well-established companies with a history of consistent growth and dividends. He diversified his portfolio across various sectors to minimize risk. The first few months were nerve-wracking. Some days his portfolio went up, and other days it dipped. But he reminded himself of one key lesson. The stock market rewards patience. Instead of reacting emotionally, he stayed the course. While his stock portfolio was growing steadily, Jason wanted an investment that could generate passive income. Real estate seemed like the perfect option. He began attending real estate seminars and networking with experienced investors. His first deal was a small duplex. He secured a favorable loan, rented out both units, and found that after covering his mortgage and expenses, he was left with an extra $600 per month in passive income. Encouraged by this success, he reinvested his earnings into another rental property. Before long, his real estate investments were covering a significant portion of his living expenses. Jason stumbled upon a quote by Albert Einstein that changed his perspective. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. He learned that reinvesting profits and allowing money to grow over time created a snowball effect. Even small, consistent investments could turn into a fortune if given enough time. Jason automated his investments, ensuring a portion of his monthly income went directly into stocks, index funds, and real estate ventures. The magic of compounding was working in his favor. Jason wasn't immune to mistakes, but he learned valuable lessons from them. Trying to time the market, he quickly realized that no one could predict short-term market movements with certainty. Investing in things he didn't understand. His first attempt at crypto investing led to losses because he followed hype rather than research. Not diversifying enough. Initially, he put too much money into a single stock, only to watch it decline unexpectedly. Letting emotions drive decisions, he learned that fear and greed were the biggest enemies of successful investing. With a few wins and losses under his belt, Jason developed a personal investment strategy. 1. Invest for the long term. Instead of looking for quick profits, he focused on assets that would grow steadily over decades. 2. Reinvest earnings. Whether it was dividends, rental income, or business profits, he reinvested them to accelerate his wealth building. 3. Maintain diversification. Spreading investments across different asset classes minimized risk and increased stability. 4. Continue learning. The world of investing was always evolving, and staying informed was crucial. A year after making his first investment, Jason reviewed his progress. His stock portfolio had grown, his rental properties were cash flowing, and he had built a system that generated passive income. For the first time, he felt a sense of financial security that he had never known before. The realization hit him. He wasn't just working for money anymore. His money was working for him. The path to financial freedom was becoming clearer, and he knew that if he stayed the course, true wealth was within reach. His next goal? Expanding his portfolio further and creating a lifestyle where financial worries would be a thing of the past. But that was a journey for the next chapter. Chapter 5. The power of networking and building relationships. Jason had learned to generate income, manage money, and invest wisely. However, he soon realized that wealth wasn't built in isolation. The wealthiest people weren't just intelligent investors or hard workers, they were master networkers. They surrounded themselves with successful individuals, sought guidance from mentors, and built valuable relationships that propelled them forward. In this chapter, Jason learns how to leverage networking to accelerate his financial journey. One evening, Jason attended a business seminar in downtown Chicago. At first, he felt out of place among seasoned entrepreneurs and investors, but then he struck up a conversation with an older gentleman named Robert, who had built multiple successful businesses. Robert shared an important piece of advice. Your net worth is directly tied to your network. The more high-value people you know, the more opportunities will come your way. That single conversation sparked a revelation. Jason realized that financial success wasn't just about what he knew, it was also about who he knew. He decided to become intentional about expanding his network and surrounding himself with individuals who could help him grow. Jason learned that successful networking wasn't about using people for personal gain. Instead, it was about building genuine relationships based on mutual value. He identified several key benefits of a strong network. 1. Access to opportunities. The best business deals, job offers, and investment opportunities often come through personal connections. 2. Knowledge and mentorship. Learning from experienced professionals can help avoid costly mistakes. 3. Collaboration and partnerships. Working with like-minded individuals can lead to new business ventures. 4. Support and motivation. Being around ambitious people keeps motivation high and reinforces positive habits. Determined to expand his circle, Jason adopted several strategies. 1. Attending events and conferences. He made it a habit to attend seminars, business expos, and networking events where he could meet successful individuals. 2. Leveraging social media. Jason optimized his LinkedIn profile, engaged in meaningful discussions, and connected with industry leaders online. 3. Offering value first. Instead of asking for favors, he found ways to help others, whether by sharing knowledge, making introductions, or providing support. 4. Joining mastermind groups. He joined exclusive business groups where members shared insights and held each other accountable. 5. Following up and nurturing relationships. Jason learned that networking wasn't about collecting business cards. It was about maintaining genuine long-term connections. Through his networking efforts, Jason met a highly successful entrepreneur named Linda. Unlike other mentors who shared generic advice, Linda took an active interest in his financial journey. She guided him on scaling his business, structuring investments, and positioning himself for wealth accumulation. One day, over coffee, Linda said something that stuck with him. Never be the smartest person in the room. If you are, you're in the wrong room. Jason realized that to continue growing, he needed to surround himself with people who had already achieved what he aspired to. With Linda's advice, Jason leveraged his network to take his income to the next level. He secured partnerships, gained referrals, and even landed investment opportunities he wouldn't have found otherwise. His business started growing at an accelerated pace, and he realized that his financial success was no longer just about his efforts. It was about the collective power of his network. By the end of the year, Jason had built a network of influential mentors, business partners, and investors. He had gone from an ambitious entrepreneur to a well-connected professional with access to opportunities that most people never encountered. Networking wasn't just a tool, it was a lifestyle. And as Jason looked toward his next financial goal, he knew that the relationships he had built would play a crucial role in his journey to lasting wealth. Chapter 6: The Mindset of Wealth, Thinking Like the Rich. By now, Jason had mastered multiple strategies for generating wealth, managing finances, and leveraging relationships. However, one fundamental realization dawned on him. True wealth wasn't just about external strategies. It was also about mindset. The rich thought differently from the average person. Their habits, beliefs, and attitudes toward money set them apart. If Jason wanted to sustain his financial success, he needed to cultivate the mindset of the wealthy. Growing up, Jason was taught that money was scarce, that wealth was reserved for the lucky few, and that financial success required endless sacrifice. He had heard phrases like, "money doesn't grow on trees," and "you have to work hard to get rich," all his life. But after spending time with successful entrepreneurs and investors, he realized they thought differently. Wealthy individuals didn't believe in limitations. They saw money as a tool, not a finite resource. They focused on expanding their earning potential rather than cutting expenses. Jason knew he had to shift from a scarcity mentality to an abundance mindset, a belief that opportunities were endless and that he had the power to create wealth, not just chase it. One of Jason's biggest revelations came from a conversation with his mentor, Linda. She asked him a simple question: "How do you think most people get paid?" Jason answered, "By working a job. They trade their time for money." Linda nodded. "Exactly. But that's not how the wealthy think. The rich don't trade time for money. They trade value for money. Time is limited, but value is infinite. If you want to build lasting wealth, you have to create something that generates income without needing your constant effort." Jason finally understood why most people stayed trapped in financial struggles. They were working for money instead of making money work for them. He started focusing on building income-generating assets, businesses, investments, and intellectual property that could create value even when he wasn't actively working. One of the biggest differences between the wealthy and the average person was how they viewed time. Many people focused on immediate rewards, getting a paycheck, making a quick profit, or saving a little money each month. In contrast, the wealthy thought in terms of years, even decades. Jason noticed that wealthy people invested for the long term. They didn't panic during short-term market dips. They focused on steady growth over decades. They built businesses with longevity. Instead of chasing quick profits, they built companies that could sustain success for generations. They made decisions based on future impact. Every action they took was calculated to benefit them in the long run. Jason realized he needed to stop thinking about short-term gains and start planning for financial independence in the next 10 to 20 years. He began prioritizing assets over paychecks, investments over expenses, and patience over instant gratification. To fully embrace the mindset of wealth, Jason started mimicking the daily habits of the rich. He researched and observed what successful individuals did differently. He found several common habits that set them apart. The wealthy are lifelong learners, so Jason committed to reading books on finance, business, and self-improvement every day. They surrounded themselves with success, so he made it a goal to spend time with mentors, high achievers, and like-minded individuals who inspired him to think bigger. Many wealthy individuals practiced gratitude to reinforce a positive mindset, so Jason began journaling about his financial goals and visualizing success. They managed their time wisely, so instead of wasting hours on distractions, Jason structured his day to focus on productive activities that moved him closer to his goals. One of the biggest mindset shifts Jason had to make was how he viewed failure. Most people feared failure, seeing it as a sign of defeat. But the wealthy saw failure differently. It was a necessary step towards success. Linda shared a quote that stuck with Jason: "The only way to avoid failure is to do nothing, but doing nothing guarantees you'll never succeed." She explained that every successful entrepreneur had failed at some point, but they learned from their mistakes and kept moving forward. Jason realized that he had been holding himself back by playing it safe. He needed to take calculated risks and accept failure as a part of the journey. The final piece of the puzzle for Jason was understanding that wealth wasn't just about making money. It was about keeping and growing it for future generations. The wealthy didn't just earn millions. They structured their finances to ensure their families remained wealthy for decades. They used trusts and estate planning to protect assets from unnecessary taxation and mismanagement. They educated their children on financial literacy so they wouldn't squander wealth. They built legacies through businesses, investments, and philanthropic efforts that lasted beyond their lifetimes. Jason knew that true financial success wasn't just about his own wealth. It was about setting up future generations for financial freedom. He committed to learning how to manage and grow his wealth in a way that could sustain his family for years to come. By the end of the year, Jason had completely transformed his mindset. He no longer thought like an employee. He thought like an investor, an entrepreneur, and a wealth builder. His shift in thinking had changed everything. He was no longer chasing money. He was attracting it. He was no longer working for income. He was building wealth. He was no longer trapped in short-term thinking. He was investing in his future. Jason had finally unlocked the secret of the wealthy. Financial success starts in the mind. Chapter 7. Mastering the Art of Sales and Persuasion. As Jason continued his journey toward financial success, he realized something crucial. Every wealthy person he had met was an expert at sales and persuasion. Whether they were entrepreneurs, investors, or business executives, they all knew how to influence others, negotiate deals, and sell their vision. Mastering this skill, Jason discovered, was the key to unlocking limitless financial opportunities. At first, Jason hesitated at the idea of sales. He had always thought of salespeople as pushy, aggressive, and manipulative. But after studying the habits of self-made millionaires, he understood that sales was not about manipulation. It was about providing value and solving problems. Linda, his mentor, put it plainly: everything in life is sales. If you want to build a successful business, you need to sell your product. If you want to land a big client, you need to sell your skills. Even convincing an investor to back your project is a form of sales. Master it and you'll never be broke. Jason realized that sales skills weren't just for business. They were necessary in every area of life. If he wanted to succeed, he needed to become a master of persuasion. Jason began studying top sales professionals and psychologists who specialized in human behavior. He learned that persuasion was not about forcing someone to do something. It was about understanding human psychology and guiding people toward the right decision. He came across Dr. Robert Cialdini's 6 principles of influence. Reciprocity. People feel obligated to return favors. Giving value first increases the chances of receiving something in return. Commitment and consistency. Once people commit to an idea or action, they are more likely to follow through. Social proof. People look to others for guidance. If many people endorse something, it builds credibility. Authority. Experts and credible figures have greater influence over decisions. Liking. People are more likely to buy from those they like and trust. Scarcity. Limited opportunities make people take action faster. Understanding these principles, Jason started applying them in his conversations, negotiations, and business interactions. Jason had never considered himself a natural salesperson. The idea of pitching a product or negotiating a deal made him anxious. However, he knew that to become wealthy, he had to get over his fear. He started small, selling simple ideas to friends, negotiating better prices when making purchases, and practicing persuasive techniques in daily conversations. Over time, he grew more confident. One of the biggest lessons he learned was, if you believe in what you're offering, selling is simply helping others. Instead of focusing on making money, he focused on solving problems for his customers. As a result, his confidence soared and his ability to sell improved dramatically. Selling was just one part of the equation. Negotiation was the other. Jason knew that wealthy individuals never accepted the first offer. They always negotiated for better deals, whether in business, investments, or everyday life. He studied the tactics of top negotiators and learned several key strategies. Anchoring, setting the first offer at a strategic level to influence the final agreement. Silence, using pauses to make the other party uncomfortable and encourage them to offer more. Win-win solutions, creating deals where both parties feel they have gained something valuable. Walking away, being willing to walk if the deal wasn't favorable, increasing his leverage. Jason put these techniques into practice, and soon he was securing better business contracts, landing higher-paying clients, and closing deals with confidence. As Jason improved his sales skills, he realized something powerful. People buy from people they trust. If he wanted to achieve lasting wealth, he needed to build a personal brand that positioned him as an authority in his industry. He focused on creating valuable content, sharing insights, knowledge, and success stories through social media and blogs. He networked strategically, connecting with high-level professionals and industry leaders. He worked on becoming a thought leader, speaking at events, writing books, and contributing to industry discussions. Over time, Jason built a reputation as a trusted expert. This credibility made selling easier because people already saw him as someone worth listening to. After months of practicing and refining his sales and persuasion skills, Jason saw a dramatic increase in his income. He was landing bigger deals, attracting more opportunities, and negotiating higher payouts for his services. But more importantly, he realized that sales was not just about making money. It was about creating influence, opportunities, and freedom. With the ability to sell and persuade, he could launch any business, secure funding, and attract the right people to his ventures. Jason had unlocked one of the most powerful tools of wealth creation, and from that moment on, he knew he would never struggle financially again. Chapter 8: The Road to Financial Freedom. Jason stood at the edge of a new chapter in his life. The past few years had been a relentless pursuit of knowledge, strategy, and self-discipline. He had conquered fears, mastered sales, learned the art of negotiation, and built wealth from nothing. But now he faced the ultimate question: how does one turn financial success into lasting freedom? Linda, his mentor, had always emphasized that wealth wasn't just about money. It was about time, choice, and impact. True financial freedom meant never having to trade time for money again. It meant waking up every morning and deciding how to spend the day without financial stress dictating his actions. While Jason had amassed a fortune through his businesses, investments, and sales strategies, he realized that active income that required his constant effort, was not the end goal. The wealthy didn't just work for money, they made their money work for them. Jason studied the world's wealthiest individuals and their financial structures. The common denominator: multiple streams of passive income. He focused on 4 key areas: real estate investments, acquiring rental properties that generated consistent cash flow, dividend stocks and investments, investing in companies that paid dividends, providing him with ongoing income, digital products and online businesses, creating online courses and books that sold passively over time, and automated businesses, hiring teams and implementing systems that allowed his businesses to run without his direct involvement. Jason had read about the rat race in books, but now he truly understood what it meant. Most people worked hard their entire lives, spending decades chasing higher salaries and better job positions, only to retire with barely enough savings to sustain their lifestyle. But Jason had a different path in mind. Instead of increasing expenses alongside his income, he focused on growing his investments and living below his means. His goal was simple. When his passive income exceeded his monthly expenses, he would be financially free. As Jason progressed, he realized that financial literacy was the missing piece in most people's lives. Schools taught algebra and history, but rarely covered how to manage money, invest wisely, or build wealth. Determined to make a difference, Jason began educating others. He started a podcast, wrote articles, and spoke at events, teaching people how to escape financial struggles and build lasting wealth. He believed that true wealth wasn't just personal, it was something to be shared. With financial freedom on the horizon, Jason reflected on a profound truth. Money itself was never the goal. It was merely a tool, a means to create impact, help others, and design a life of purpose. He asked himself, what do I want my legacy to be? The answer wasn't in the numbers in his bank account, but in the lives he could change. Wealth, he realized, was most meaningful when it was used to uplift others. The day finally came when Jason's passive income surpassed his expenses. He no longer needed to work, but the difference was he wanted to. Not for money, but for passion, purpose, and contribution. Linda smiled at him when he shared the news. "Welcome to the 1%, she said. Now go and help others do the same." Jason knew his journey wasn't over, it was just beginning. But this time, he was no longer chasing wealth, he was living it. Chapter 9, The Wealth Mindset, Thinking Like the Rich. Jason had achieved financial independence, but he knew that true wealth wasn't just about numbers in a bank account. It was about mindset, the way wealthy people think, act, and make decisions. To stay rich and continue growing his wealth, he needed to fully adopt the habits and beliefs of the ultra-successful. Linda, his mentor, had once told him, the difference between the rich and everyone else isn't just money, it's how they see the world. Jason had spent years developing his financial skills, but now he was about to embark on an even greater challenge, rewiring his brain for unlimited wealth and success. One of the first things Jason had to unlearn was the scarcity mindset, the belief that money was limited and hard to come by. Most people, he realized, lived with a fear of running out of money, constantly worrying about expenses and hoarding what little they had. The wealthy, on the other hand, operated from an abundance mindset. They believed that money was everywhere, opportunities were endless, and value could always be created. They didn't focus on cutting costs, they focused on expanding their income. Jason made a conscious decision to shift his thinking. Instead of saying, I can't afford this, he started asking, how can I afford this? Instead of fearing investment risks, he learned to embrace calculated risks. And instead of seeing competition as a threat, he saw it as motivation to innovate and improve. Linda often reminded Jason that your network is your net worth. She encouraged him to audit his relationships. Who were the people he spent the most time with? Did they push him forward or hold him back? Wealthy individuals surrounded themselves with other successful people, entrepreneurs, investors, and high achievers. They exchanged ideas, collaborated on business ventures, and supported each other's growth. Jason took this advice seriously. He joined mastermind groups, attended exclusive business events, and built relationships with people who inspired him. Over time, he realized that being in the right environment made wealth building feel natural rather than like a constant uphill battle. Most people, Jason noticed, thought in days, weeks, or months. The rich thought in years and decades. Instead of chasing quick money, they focused on building assets that would appreciate over time. Instead of making impulsive purchases, they considered how every financial decision aligned with their long-term goals. Jason started applying this principle to his own life. He shifted from short-term profits to long-term investments. He prioritized financial stability over instant gratification. And most importantly, he created a vision for his future that extended far beyond the next few years. One of the biggest lessons Jason learned from wealthy individuals was that they never tried to do everything themselves. They understood that time was their most valuable asset, so they leveraged other people's time, money, and skills to scale their wealth. Instead of working longer hours, they built teams and systems that allowed them to generate money even when they weren't actively working. They used other people's capital, bank loans, investor funding, and partnerships to expand their businesses and investments. They hired experts and delegated tasks outside their expertise, focusing only on what they did best. Jason applied this to his own businesses. Instead of trying to manage every detail himself, he hired a team. Instead of using only his savings to invest, he secured partnerships and funding. The more he leveraged resources, the faster his wealth grew. If there was one thing Jason had learned about wealth, it was that financial success is never a straight line. There were setbacks, market crashments, and unexpected expenses. What separated the rich from the rest wasn't that they avoided failure, it was how they handled it. The wealthy had an unshakable belief in themselves. They viewed challenges as learning opportunities rather than reasons to quit. They controlled their emotions, never letting fear or greed dictate their decisions. Jason committed himself to mental resilience. He trained himself to stay calm during financial downturns, learned from failures instead of dwelling on them, and developed the patience to wait for the right opportunities. One of the most surprising things Jason discovered was that the wealthiest people were also the most generous. They didn't hoard their money, they used it to create impact. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and other billionaires had dedicated large portions of their fortunes to philanthropy. They understood that true wealth wasn't just about having more, it was about making a difference. Jason decided to integrate this into his own life. He set up a foundation to support young entrepreneurs, donated to causes he believed in, and mentored others who were on their own financial journey. By the time Jason had fully embraced the wealth mindset, he realized that the biggest difference between the rich and everyone else wasn't money, it was thinking. The rich thought in abundance, not scarcity. They surrounded themselves with success. They focused on long-term growth. They leveraged resources instead of working harder. They mastered their emotions and stayed resilient. They used wealth as a tool for impact, not just personal gain. This final shift in thinking made all the difference. Jason wasn't just rich financially, he was rich in knowledge, connections, freedom, and purpose. And as he looked toward the future, he knew that true wealth had no limits. Chapter 10. The final steps to financial mastery. Jason had come a long way, from a young entrepreneur struggling to make ends meet to a financially independent individual who had built multiple streams of income. His journey had been full of lessons. But now, as he stood on the precipice of true financial mastery, he knew there were still a few final steps to take. One of the last pieces of the puzzle Jason had to master was the art of generating passive income. He had already built businesses and invested in real estate, but true financial freedom meant creating income that flowed effortlessly into his accounts without him having to be actively involved. He studied some of the wealthiest people in the world, Warren Buffett, Robert Kiyosaki, and Ray Dalio. They all had one thing in common. They didn't work for money. Money worked for them. Jason diversified his passive income streams. He expanded his real estate portfolio, investing in properties that generated rental income. He invested in dividend-paying stocks, which paid him money every quarter. He even created digital products, such as online courses and ebooks, which continued to sell even when he was asleep. It was a game changer. For the first time in his life, Jason saw that money could grow on its own without him having to trade time for it. Linda, his mentor, once asked him, "What do you want your wealth to mean when you're gone?" It was a question that forced Jason to think beyond his own lifetime. The richest people didn't just build wealth for themselves. They built financial legacies. They created generational wealth, ensuring their children and grandchildren wouldn't have to start from scratch. Jason set up trusts and estate plans. He established funds that would continue growing even after his lifetime. He made sure his wealth wouldn't just disappear, but instead would benefit future generations. Making money was one thing, keeping it was another. Jason had seen too many lottery winners and overnight millionaires go broke because they didn't know how to manage their wealth. So he studied the habits of the ultra-rich. They lived below their means, Even billionaires like Warren Buffett lived in modest homes and avoided extravagant spending. They continued learning. The wealthiest individuals never stopped educating themselves about finance, investments, and business trends. They surrounded themselves with the right people. Jason made sure he had a team of financial advisors, legal experts, and business mentors to guide him. They reinvested their wealth. Instead of hoarding cash, they reinvested in assets that continued to grow their fortune. True financial mastery wasn't just about accumulating wealth. It was about making an impact. Jason realized that the wealthiest people weren't just rich, they were also some of the most generous people in the world. He started a charitable foundation focusing on financial literacy for young people. He donated to causes he cared about and mentored aspiring entrepreneurs. As he looked back on his journey, Jason understood that wealth wasn't just about money. It was about freedom, impact, and leaving a legacy that would outlive him. Jason's journey had reached its conclusion, but yours is just beginning. The steps to becoming rich in 2025 are clear. Master financial discipline, build multiple income streams, invest wisely, and develop a wealth mindset. Now it's up to you to take action. Will you stay where you are, or will you embark on your own journey to financial independence? The choice is yours. Chapter 11. Mastering Financial Independence and Sustaining Wealth. Jason had reached a level of financial success that many only dreamed of, but he understood that financial independence wasn't the finish line, it was just the beginning of a new journey. True wealth wasn't just about making money, it was about sustaining and growing it while maintaining personal fulfillment. As Jason looked around at other successful individuals, he realized that those who stayed rich weren't the ones who simply accumulated wealth, but those who managed it wisely and continued to innovate. One evening, Jason sat down with Linda, his longtime mentor, and reflected on his journey. He had built businesses, made investments, and secured his financial future, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to wealth than just numbers in a bank account. Linda smiled and said, "Jason, the truly rich don't just have money. They have time, health, meaningful relationships, and a sense of purpose. Money is just one piece of the puzzle." Jason took this advice to heart. He realized that financial independence meant having the freedom to do what he loved without the constant pressure of earning. It meant having the ability to wake up every day and choose how he wanted to spend his time. To truly sustain his wealth, he needed to balance his financial success with personal fulfillment. Jason studied how billionaires and multimillionaires managed their money and made an important discovery. Staying rich required discipline and strategy. He adopted key financial principles that would ensure his wealth continued to grow rather than shrink. As Jason's wealth grew, so did the temptation to spend more lavishly. He saw many successful people fall into the trap of lifestyle inflation, buying bigger houses, fancier cars, and extravagant luxuries that drained their wealth rather than growing it. Instead, Jason made a conscious decision to live well, but within his means. He focused on purchasing assets rather than liabilities and ensured that his spending aligned with his values rather than his ego. Rather than actively managing every aspect of his finances, Jason built a system where his money worked for him automatically. He structured his investments so that profits were reinvested. His real estate properties generated rental income without requiring his constant attention. His businesses had managers and automation systems in place, allowing them to run smoothly even in his absence. The most successful investors Jason studied had one thing in common. They didn't put all their eggs in one basket. They diversified their wealth across various industries and asset classes to protect themselves against economic downturns. Jason followed suit. He had investments in stocks and index funds, ensuring long-term capital appreciation, real estate, providing passive rental income, cryptocurrency and emerging technologies, allowing him to stay ahead of future trends, and private equity and business ventures, giving him access to high-growth opportunities. This diversified approach ensured that even if one sector faced challenges, his overall financial health remained strong. Jason quickly realized that sustaining wealth wasn't just about numbers, it was about emotional intelligence. He learned to manage his emotions in times of market volatility. He didn't panic when stock prices dipped or when real estate markets fluctuated. Instead, he followed the principles of patience and strategic decision-making. Linda had once told him, "Your emotions will either make you rich or make you poor. Learn to control them." Jason took this lesson seriously and practiced financial mindfulness, ensuring that every decision he made was based on logic and long-term goals rather than fear or greed. As Jason reached the pinnacle of financial independence, he found the most fulfilling part of his journey wasn't just his personal wealth, it was helping others achieve the same freedom. He started mentoring young entrepreneurs, teaching them the financial lessons he had learned along the way. He also began thinking about his legacy. He wanted to ensure that the wealth he built would continue to serve his family and community long after he was gone. He established trusts and endowments, setting up his family for financial security for generations to come. Jason finally understood what Linda had been trying to teach him all along. True wealth isn't just about money. It's about freedom, the freedom to live life on your own terms, to pursue passions, to give back, and to create a lasting impact. As he reflected on his journey, Jason felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had gone from struggling financially to building an empire, but the greatest wealth he had gained was the ability to control his own destiny. With that realization, Jason knew he had truly mastered financial independence, not just in terms of wealth, but in living a life filled with purpose, security, and freedom. Chapter 12: The Legacy of Wealth. Living beyond money. Jason had achieved everything he once dreamed of. He had built businesses, made intelligent investments, and reached a level of financial independence that allowed him to live life on his own terms. But as he sat in his home office overlooking the city skyline, he couldn't shake a lingering question. What now? Linda's words echoed in his mind. True wealth isn't just about what you have, it's about what you leave behind. He realized that financial success meant little if it wasn't used to create a lasting impact. Wealth wasn't just about money, it was about legacy, contribution, and shaping the future for others. Jason knew that the truly wealthy didn't just accumulate assets, they built something that would outlive them. He studied the legacies of historical entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and visionaries who had used their fortunes to create meaningful change. What they had in common was a commitment to building something beyond themselves. He started thinking about the next stage of his journey. It wasn't just about growing his own wealth anymore, it was about how he could help others do the same. Jason had seen too many stories of people inheriting wealth and squandering it due to a lack of financial literacy. He didn't want his children or future generations to fall into that trap. Instead of just leaving behind money, he wanted to leave behind knowledge. He began writing down the principles that had guided him, compiling them into lessons that could be passed on. He decided to start a financial education program, one that would teach young people how to invest, how to create wealth, and most importantly, how to keep it. He launched free workshops, spoke at schools, and created online courses to ensure that financial education reached those who needed it most. Linda was right. Wealth wasn't just about having money. It was about sharing the knowledge to build and sustain it. As Jason became more involved in philanthropy, he realized that one of the greatest joys of financial success was the ability to give back. He established charitable foundations focused on entrepreneurship and financial literacy. He helped fund startups run by young, ambitious entrepreneurs who needed the right support to turn their ideas into reality. He also partnered with organizations to create housing programs, investing in real estate projects that provided affordable housing while also generating sustainable income. These ventures ensured that his wealth continued to grow, but more importantly, they created opportunities for others to rise with him. Despite his success, Jason never lost the mindset that had brought him this far. He continued to educate himself, network with visionaries, and challenge himself to grow in new ways. He learned that wealth wasn't a destination, it was a lifelong journey of adaptation, growth, and reinvention. He also understood that financial freedom wasn't just about numbers in a bank account, it was about waking up every morning with the freedom to do what he loved. It was about knowing that his wealth wasn't just serving him, it was serving a greater purpose. One evening, Jason sat on his balcony, watching the sun set over the city he had once struggled to make a living in. He thought about the risks he had taken, the lessons he had learned, and the people who had helped him along the way. He had come full circle, from financial struggle to independence, from self-made success to a mentor and philanthropist. True wealth, he realized, wasn't just about making money. It was about what you did with it. It was about living life on your own terms, helping others achieve the same, and leaving the world a little better than you found it. Jason smiled, knowing that his journey wasn't over. It had simply evolved. And that was the beauty of true wealth. It was never about an end goal. It was about continuous growth, contribution, and freedom. As he took a deep breath, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, not just for the wealth he had built, but for the knowledge, the experiences, and the ability to shape his own destiny. That, he knew, was the richest life anyone could ask for. Thank you for listening to this audiobook. If you found it valuable, please like and subscribe to the Millionaire Library for more content on wealth, success, and financial freedom. Your support helps us create even more powerful resources to guide you on your journey. See you in the next one.